I think that my ethnicity is a personal thing, that it's for my own personal growth and my own personal benefit.
Are you more black or are you more Spanish?
I try to be super conscious of my race and my privilege.
I think it's hard to talk honestly about race because
it's a constant competition to see what race is better.
A lot of people are still very sensitive about what you are.
Oh, I'm a thug. That's what they think.
People are not colorblind.
Your skin color is the most that matters to people.
That's definitely gray.
I would probably racially identify myself as a person of color or African American or black.
I'm half Puerto Rican and half black.
A white male.
Guyanese.
I'm gonna say I'm a Nigerian American.
African American.
I racially identify myself as other.
That's a tough question because of the fact that I was adopted by white Americans, but yet I've reconnected with my Korean side, so Korean American.
Because I'm white, people think generally that life is pretty easy for me. Don't have to worry about a lot of the things that people of color have to worry about in terms of discrimination. I recognize it, you know, so I think what I try to do is, you know, separate myself from that.
I never looked in the mirror and saw myself as Asian. In fact, I hated it. And I didn't like being Asian and looking different than everyone around me, because where I grew up there was zero diversity, zero, and I was the only Asian in school, and forget about seeing African Americans or Hispanics, they just didn't exist where I lived.
It is very difficult to be the different one. I grew up the only black person in my class, and that was from kindergarten through 8th grade. And I will never forget that when I was in 2nd grade, my teacher asked me to talk about Black History Month. And I didn't know why she picked me out of all the kids in the class. And I was like, why? And my mom was like, well, you're black. And I wasn't surprised, but I didn't know that, like, I was like nominated to be the spokesperson because I was the only different one, you know?
I feel like especially Hispanics, because I look more Spanish, so they definitely quiz me. Oh, do you know Spanish? Do you know what this is? Or are you more black or are you more Spanish? And I don't really know how to answer those questions.
It's a constant competition to see what race is better, so you're gonna talk down on other people and create stereotypes that aren't true.
You have to interact with other people outside of your immediate surrounding. That's to understand how people function, why they do certain things.
I have tend to notice that when we're on the subway or on buses, the loudest people on the bus are usually African American women.
Being that I'm black, a black female at that, I'm angry.
They're usually angry. They're usually yelling at their boyfriends.
I got baby mama drama, baby daddy drama.
Yelling at their kids.
I have an attitude problem.
They seem very bitter.
I'm not educated.
And they're usually alone.
Anything that's in a Tyler Perry film.
And I'm like, you know, why are they so angry all the time? You know, or I'll say something like figures. I'll look and I'll say figures.
People in this country don't often move around to see different cultures or different aspects of life. You tend to think in one way, and the way that you think is your way or the people around you.
You're in a bad neighborhood or something and you see, you know, as a white person, you might see like an African-American person walking down the street, and your first instinct, because of the way that we're programmed, is to, you know, question that.
People would assume that I'm a violent person. I get that a lot. Like, people shy away from me. They would assume that I'm not somebody that they can talk to, or like I have experience that I can share.
I think that conversations about race are really important, and, you know, it shouldn't really matter what it's about. I think it should be talked about.
I think that conversations on race focus on black versus white or white versus black pretty much, I would say 99% of the time.
I don't think that it focuses too much on black and white, because if you look at it, that's pretty much what we're divided into. I would even consider sometimes for Asian people to be considered like white, and some Spanish culture, you know, some people of Hispanic cultures to be considered black.
It's easier to say somebody's black or white by looking at their skin color. I don't feel like a lot of people consider everything in between.
I think it's hard to talk honestly about race because
we're told that it's not there, you know, when it actually becomes an issue, nobody really knows how to deal with it.
It's definitely a gray area in that, with people trying to be filtered because they don't want to offend other people. You never really know who you're talking to or like what's in the room.
I don't know, there's a lot of taboos, there's a lot of like social like boundaries that people feel uncomfortable crossing.
Nobody wants to feel uncomfortable, so they try to like not talk about it because it's a touchy topic.
I think that it's hard to speak openly about race because it's a very touchy subject among a lot of people, and a lot of people are still very sensitive about what you are. I mean, at one time I had no rights because of the color of my skin and because of my gender. And things that you can't change about yourself will always be a very touchy subject to anybody.
I think there needs to be more conversations about it, because I think that, you know, it's like kind of being swept under the rug, because, you know, it's like, oh, it's 2014. We're past that, but we're not.
My husband, he is black, yes. And before I met him, I was actually very racist.
All races are racist. It's not just white people or black people, it's everybody.
I think what makes a person racist is...
The answer I would give you is kind of the reality, and it's somewhat of a natural human being trait, and that's to judge prior.
I think it's taught. I think it could also develop.
It's a prejudice that you hold against somebody, maybe that be passing judgment on them before you talk to them.
If you dislike an entire group of people because of some stereotype, because of some scenario you've been in, because of some person that you know that you didn't like, and now you lump all of those same people together.
I guess racism is taking that judgment and letting it rule your complete thoughts on a complete group.
Because I'd grown up and lived in all white towns, and I had all of my neighbors, all of my friends. We thought of African Americans as being low class, usually, you know, troublemakers. They don't care about any other race.
There's still a long way that we have to go to even consider calling ourselves post-racial.
And it's hard because I think a lot of people, anyone, any race, any age, whatever, you have prejudices towards anything, towards anyone, you know? And I think what's important is to recognize them and overcome them, rather than to, you know, be like, well, I'm not racist. You know, a lot of people jump to that a lot.
I will admit that a part of me, I haven't lost it all. I'm trying.
I think it's important to, you know, when you're questioning that, to be able to step outside of that and say, you know, this is just like the way that, you know, things have been taught in history, and I'm trying to fight against that.
Is racism always going to be prevalent? Yes, because they don't know. So once people start really educating themselves, which I don't think everyone will take the interest to do.
Most people won't. They don't read. They don't get out the comfort zone.
Being in New York City, being on the East Coast, has really opened my eyes to how equal people really are. I love the fact that I can see every race, every color, every religion, every different class. People don't look down on other people just because of what they look like, or the way they talk, or how much money they make.
I guess post-racial America looks like a place where everybody is treated fairly. For me, that would mean that even through the justice system, people were treated as people and not as, you know, what they are, the color of their skin, even their gender. Because I feel like no matter how hard you try to say that it's not a big deal, it will always be a big deal, because, you know, like, you are who you are. And if somebody expresses distaste in that, you're gonna feel it. It's gonna be offensive.